booster ignition, and liftoff of Discovery, celebrating its 25th birthday by racking up science and supplies to the space station.
The ride is pretty wild. You go from 0 to 17,500 miles an hour in 8.5 minutes. You're about 280 miles above ground. You go around the world once every 90 minutes. You ask yourself, man, how lucky am I that I'm going to be joining the club of less than 600 people who have the privilege of being up here and looking at our Earth from a unique perspective. I could make out Canada, US, and Mexico. I couldn't tell the difference where one country ended and another began. And that's when it hit me. I said, my gosh, borders were created by humans designed to separate us, and how sad, because from that perspective, we're just one. We're the human race. We're God's children. We're all the same. I'm José M. Hernández, scientist, astronaut, book author, a vintner, I make my own wine, an entrepreneur. So I do a little bit of everything. I think my story begins well before I was even born, because it starts with my father, really. My father, at the young age of 15, he lived in central Mexico, and out of economic necessity, he did what many in his town do, which is go to California and work picking up fruits and vegetables.
Mi papá, inclusive él me dio $300 cuando yo me vine la primera vez para Estados Unidos, y me ayudó mucho mi papá.
He would start in Southern California for 2 months, Central California for 2 months, and then Northern California, here, Stockton, California, for 5 months. So total of 9 months. Then he would go back to Mexico for 3 months, cool as heels, repeat that process every year since he was 15. When he was 18, he met my future mother. I guess they saw stars and they fell in love and they got married. My dad incorporates my mom into this nomadic lifestyle. And of course, with marriage comes kids. And there's 4 of us. I'm the youngest of 4. And depending what month we were born in dictated what country we were born in. So you had a 9 and 12 chances of being a good old US citizen. And I beat those odds because one of my brothers, the one next to me in age, and myself were born at peak harvest season, last stop here in Stockton. But then my sister, oldest brother, they were born in the wintertime and they were born in Mexico. And ever since I could remember, we moved around. In Mexico, we didn't go to school. My mom would wake us up every morning, Monday through Friday, from 8 in the morning to 12 noon in grandma's kitchen. We would self-study. So when I would go to Mexico, of course, I would speak Spanish with an accent. When I would come back to school here in Stockton, I would speak English with an accent. In one place, I was too Mexican to be American. In another place, I was too American to be Mexican. Miss Young, my 2nd grade teacher, she had a great influence. When I went to tell Miss Young that we were going to Mexico and I needed 3 months worth of homework, she had a frustrated look. She had done this for my 3 older siblings. The 4th time was the charm. And she basically tries to convince my father that we needed to stay in one place. Says, imagine I give you a fruit tree in a potted plant. And my dad says, okay, what do you want me to do with it? I said, I want you to find the best ground, dig a hole, plant the tree, water and fertilize it. My dad said, I can do that. Then Miss Young says, but in 3 months, I want you to find a new piece of ground, transplant it here. Then Miss Young says, every 3 months, I want you to transplant that tree. She then looks at my dad and says, you who are an expert in agriculture, what happens to that tree in the long run? It's gonna be weak. And if it's a fruit tree, it probably won't even bear fruit, because a tree needs to be in one place for the roots to grow deep and the tree can grow big and strong. He immediately acknowledges Miss Young. He realized that that tree symbolized what he was doing to his kids with respect to education. And I'll tell you, from then on, we stopped moving around. We made Stockton, California our home. During one summer, we had just finished working in the fields. So we were muddy, crusty, dusty, and we hopped on the car in the back seat, all four of us, and then my mom and dad. My dad gets in the car, starts the car, and he starts adjusting the rear mirror. And I think he lowers it too low that he sees us. And he said, "Hey guys, how do you guys feel today?" And I thought it was an absurd question. Obviously, we just worked a full day in the hot sun. We're muddy, we're tired. So I even said it with an attitude. I said, "Tired, Dad? How do you expect us to feel?" And he said, "Good. I want you to remember this feeling." He said, "Look at your hands. You have the great privilege of living your future now." I said, "What do you mean living the future now?" He said, "Yeah, son. I'm not going to force you to go to school, much less get good grades. But if you're wondering what your future's like without an education," he said, "welcome to your future." I mean, if that's not motivation enough, I don't know what is. So I said, "No, I think I like school. I think I'm going to do something different than this. I don't want to do this all my life."
Y parece que todos agarraron mis palabras porque no dijeron nada en todo el camino a la casa. Parece que sí agarraron buena y todos llegaron a agarrar una educación universitaria. Todos agarraron su carrera universitaria.
I remember I was involved in student government, and we were having meetings for the homecoming parade for the junior float. They needed a truck and a flatbed so we can build a float. And my father had one, and I knew my father would lend it to us, but I know my father, and I was embarrassed where we lived. We lived in a 2-bedroom dilapidated rental in the worst part of Stockton. I stayed quiet. I said, "I'm not going to volunteer because I don't want them to see where I live." And we were to the last meeting when we were going to cancel our float. And I finally fessed up. I said, "Well, my dad has a truck and a flatbed and he'll lend it to us." And the first day they came, you know, my mom brings out this burritos, the food, agua fresca. My dad brings them boombox. My brothers and sister come out and help. And it becomes a party, a festive atmosphere. Second day, word got out, "Hey, you guys got to come to Jose's house. There's some good food and music." And I remember as we finished the float, one of my buddies, he lived on the good side of town, and he says, "I'm so jealous of you." And I said, look where I live, come on. I said, "Look at you, you got a brand new car." And he said, "Yeah, I do have a brand new car, and I live in the north side." I said, "But you know what? My mom and dad are divorced. I never see my dad. My mom's a nurse. Yes, she got me this car, but she works overtime. I never see her." And then he points to the family, he points to everything, and he says, "I want that." That's when I realized that family is more important than material things. I was in the 5th grade. I was 10 years old. And it was a cold December evening, 1972. And we had done our homework, so we were free to watch TV. And when there was something interesting to watch, you know, little Jose hanging onto antenna for dear life to improve reception, because once you let go, it got fuzzy again. That December evening, they bring a special program televising the very last Apollo mission, Apollo 17. And it was none other than astronaut Gene Cernan walking on the moon. And there I am, watching Gene Cernan on TV in a contortionist position, hearing him talk to Mission Control Houston, and watching him taking his steps on the moon. And then I would let go. I would go outside. The moon was almost full. And that's when it hit me. I said, that's what I want to be. I want to be an astronaut. And that's how the dream was conceived. When I finished graduate school as an engineer at UC Santa Barbara, now I was eligible to apply. I had a graduate degree. So I applied. And of course, I get my first rejection. Upon reviewing your application, we concur with your assessment that you are eligible to be considered for the NASA astronaut program. So I said, all right, good news. I'm validated. Then comes the bad news. More than 12,962 people also meet this minimum criteria. Only 100 finalists can be further considered. Out of these 100 finalists, we'll select 10 to 15 astronauts. Unfortunately, you're not one of these 100 finalists. Bad news, I'm out. Then the good news. Please feel free to reapply at the next selection cycle. Of course, I'm getting rejected by NASA left and right. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth rejection. I was so mad, I threw it in our little round garbage can so hard, I missed. Couldn't even get that right. And I didn't bother to pick up the piece of paper. I was so mad, I just left it on the floor. But I was married by then to my beautiful wife of now 33 years. She sees the paper on the floor. Curiosity gets the best of her. So she unwrinkles the paper and she reads it, and she's a smart lady. She puts two and two together. She said, this guy's giving up on me. She looked me straight in the eyes in a straight face. And she said, I didn't know I married a quitter. And I said, no, I'm not a quitter. It's over. She puts up the letter, says, can you read the last sentence for me out loud? Please feel free to reapply at the next selection cycle. She says, what I know is that if you don't apply, you're not gonna get selected. I also know that if you quit, you're gonna have that little worm of curiosity inside you. What if? What if? And that's gonna eat you inside, and you're gonna grow up to be a bitter old man at life. And guess what? I don't wanna be married to a bitter old man. And then she walked away and said the words that changed my outlook. What do they have, meaning the people that keep getting selected, that you don't? And those words kept registering. What do they have that I don't know? I never bothered to compare myself with successful people. I said, maybe I better do that exercise. And when I did it, it was day and night. I saw I needed to be a pilot. I needed to be scuba dive certified. And I needed to learn a language of a space partner. And that's what I did. I still got rejected 5 more times. But I was a lot more qualified, and on the 12th time, I was invited to be part of the 19th class of astronauts.
It was not easy. And the children were very small back then when he was selected. But I think my strength came also from my own parents, the work ethic that I learned from them, because I also worked in the fields with my parents. We learned a lot of what hard work was and working together and supporting each other. So I think that strength and that work ethic, I got it since I was also very, very young.
I think that being together as a family, it starts with the environment at home. It's okay to have humble beginnings. It's okay not to have the comforts of a middle-class family, because I think what's more important is the atmosphere and the setting of the family in a household. And I think a strong family nucleus, I think, was the key. Now, did my parents know that? Probably not, but they just felt that that was necessary. Mira, les traigo una sorpresa. La historia de tus papás, abuelos, bisabuelos y los tuyos también. Dice, José, tú compartiste lo que sabías de tu familia. Construyendo en lo que tú ya sabías, nuestros genealogistas pudieron ver hacia más atrás a la línea y agregaron varios nombres al árbol de tu papá. Se fueron todo hasta acá, hasta un José Antonio Margelerjo y Jaquinta Petrona Cabrera. Aquí estás, mamá, lo que nos diste. Bueno, con esto mira todo lo que encontraron.
Y
¿Hasta dónde?
Todo se va hasta 1781.
Ay,
Jorge
no.
Mora Vallargas.
y todo eso, ¿tienen tiempo de andar investigando eso?
Ellos lo investigaron.
Hoy nomás.
Así
Me
es.
sorprende a mí. Pues
Entonces-
yo quiero que les digas a ellos que yo quiero tener una...
Sí,
¿Esto aquí?
sí, te lo van a dar. Te lo van a
Sí,
hacer.
porque yo lo quiero ver porque yo no conozco
Sí.
mucho.
También descubrimos que la bisabuela de tu mamá
Luna.
era Luna. Una conexión a lo que tú, por eso fuiste al espacio. Era María Gertrudes Luna, Rafael Mora
María.
Luna. Somos Luna.
Ah.
Los dos lados de la familia tienen raíces profundas en Ticuitaco. Trabajan en el terreno, creciendo familias, creando un legado juntos. Aunque tú construiste tu vida en otro lugar, esta gente y esta historia es siempre parte de tu historia. Tus raíces van profundos en el terreno de tus antecesores. María Inés Pimentel y Josefo Bonifacio Solorio, desde 1796, cuando empezó todo eso.
Íbamos a saber nosotros esos nombres.
México agarró su independencia en 1821, significando que tu familia han estado en México antes de que México sea un país.
Hoy nomás, hoy nomás.
José, tu familia siempre ha cultivado fuerza, trabajando junto en los mismos pueblos, los mismos campos y sobre todas las generaciones. Y aquí está.
Qué bonito.
Oh.
Ok, que me dejen pues.
Sí, así te lo van a dejar. And he said, hey, leave me a copy of this.
No dice, I gotta see it.
When I first wanted to be an astronaut, I told him, he said, hey, if you really want to do this, follow this 5-ingredient recipe. He said, determine your purpose in life. Recognize how far you are from that purpose. Draw yourself a roadmap from where you know where you're at to where you need to get. And then prepare yourself according to the challenge and develop a work ethic second to none. And this is what helped me develop my work ethic. It's good old farm working chores that I had to do as a kid. The real hero in the story is not me, it's my wife. My wife's attitude was always willing to say, we got to do what you need to do to get you closer. And so I think that's the type of partnership you need to be successful. All the sacrifices that we went through as a family. And my culture and my upbringing helped me. I think they gave me the tenacity. That background gave me the work ethic that I needed to ensure that, yes, maybe I have to work 140% effort to get to that 100%. My colleagues only have to work too and get the same results. That's the brains God gave me. I understand it, but He also gave me willpower, and the energy and the tenacity. And that's how I got to where I am today.